Welcome, Coding University, training humans to train themselves. So, let's just review. Remember, we are automatics, just a bag of automatics that just do what they do. And one of the things we do is we drive ourselves from one automatic to the next automatic. In other words, when we're driving ourselves, we're just using the machine we have. But we want to also start developing our machines. So, one of the things we want to make sure that we do is we drive ourselves to that automatic that trains us. So we're in the process of developing that automatic where we just naturally train ourselves to become the person we want to become. Now, I don't know if you've ever experienced those days when you go, man, I am so exhausted. I don't know what I did, but I am exhausted. I did a lot, but I don't know what it is. And during those days, what you probably did, you drove yourself from one place, your automatic took over, did what it did, drove yourself to the next place, your automatic did what it did, then you drove yourself to the next place, and you kept going. You did your shopping, you did your uh, whatever, paying the bills, you picked up your friend, you went and did this, you went to your exercise class. I don't know what you did, but you just keep doing these things, and at the end of the day, you go, whoa. Now, if I'm going to build something at the house, one of the things I usually do is I get a piece of paper, sort of sketch out what I'm trying to build, and sort of think, okay, now how am I going to do this, and think about it, and figure it, and maybe make some plans, and then measure maybe a few little things here to get a sense of how much material I need to do it with, you know. So in the first place, I drive myself to a place where I make plans. Okay, and then I got to go drive myself to wherever I pick up the materials I'm going to need to do this, what I'm going to build with. The wood, the paint, the nails, the screws, whatever I'm going to need. Okay. Then I get out my plans. I look at my things and I start to figure, okay, now what am I going to cut, when, where, how am I going to do it? So I figure out all the things, the process. I start making, bring out the something I got to cut, and I just automatically drive myself to cut it, cut it. Have that automatic machine there. Then I go to this and then that, and I, basically guide myself through a bunch of automatic things that I just do. And I get it all the pieces set. Then it's time to sort of start putting it together. So you first put it together a little bit, and you sort of tack it in a little bit, and sort of make sure it's right before you start to solidly nail it or screw it. And then you do a little bit of cleanup and finish, and you get the project done. But there's different steps you drive yourself to. You drive first to one step, then to the next step, then to the next step, and you're using plans to sort of guide you through the process. Now, as a general contractor, when we build buildings or large projects, we had huge plans, huge sets of plans, and these plans took a while to draw up and figure out what to do and things of that nature. But we had to go through that process, and then we had to sell the people on to get it financed, get the materials ordered, set up timing and scheduling, and figuring out how to put it all together. So the building of something, you gotta sort of, we talked about, that's one of the things we talked about earlier. Do you need to have a plan and a strategy? I highly encourage it. And then what we're going to do is then we're going to go through them, and we're going to take on this what we can do energy, and get excited about those first things, and the next thing, and the next thing, the next thing, and prepare yourself to get things done. Now, one of the things you want to be thinking about is something that you don't need to plan is something you already know how to do automatically, right? That's what an automatic is. Do I know how to cut a board? Yes. Don't even think about it. Okay. Do I know how to do different things? Like maybe flip a hamburger, or pour a glass of whatever. Kids, when they first start to learn how to pour things so they don't spill, they're very intent and focused and stuff, but little by little you get to just use pour. And if you've worked at a restaurant, you really get good at a lot of these different things because you're doing them all the time. So remember, driving is simply getting yourself to where there's a trigger that will initiate an automatic that then takes over and does the rest of the work. You don't have to think at all. And driving is one of the first things we have to work on, is because one thing we have to make sure we start driving ourselves to is those steps that get us to start training and developing ourselves in a way we want to. Like we have to get the plan. What do you want? Who do you want to become? What do you want to accomplish? And start training and driving yourself to that. Then you have to, if you need materials or you got to get those, then you have to figure this and you have to figure that. But you have to go through that process of training and driving yourself through those. And one of the things that we want to remember is that a lot of times if we don't decide ahead of time what we want, we just get started. The next thing, that old day's over, and then the next day's over, and then the next day's over. And one of the things we've sort of, because trying to accomplish things and grow and develop ourselves has been so challenging for a lot of us, we just don't do that anymore because it's so frustrating. So we just, days happen and happen and happen and happen. So we've got to reinitiate a lot of stuff that maybe we did when we were younger, where we set out a plan, we look at what we can do and start to figure out, but again, starting on things that you can do, get excited about, start developing when success is built on success. Okay, so I did this, take on a simple little project and get them going, but get some plans and get some challenge. See, one of the things that they talk about flow, where you just let go. Well, that's just an automatic working, right? But flow usually has such rewarding things going on. In other words, there's so much in that trained automatic. There's reward, and it feels so good because it's usually a challenge, a challenging situation. So one of the things we wanted to start doing is developing more of those so that we start seeing how these challenging situations can be set up. So anyway, so driving, the only way to just remember is that we right now have an automatic, and we got to start with what we got. And one of the things we got to start with is remember we got to drive our automatic to start training ourselves. So training your automatic to take you to training, no matter how small it is your first step. Then train yourself to take bigger steps, and you'll start developing tools and train yourself to develop those tools. And the key is driving is you got to start where you're at, using the machine you got, and you got to learn how to drive it just a little bit to get it to where you want it to go. All right. By Coding University, training humans to train themselves.